I don't like dogs. I don't like music. And I don't like being interrupted. We're talking Scrooge's Rock and Roll Christmas. Hit it. It was 1984. Ghostbusters was in theaters, Prince released Purple Rain, and Scrooge was redeemed by a rather unusual visitor. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me are two Totally Rad Christmas All-Stars and Ratty winners. My first guest is the host of Sounds of Christmas. It's Ken Kessler. Ken, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Jerry?
I'm wonderful. It's a Monday, but you know what? That's okay. I I didn't take it personally. How's life treating you?
Uh, it's okay. I'm excited is probably the wrong word. I'm I've known about this special for a long time, and it's going to be interesting to talk about it. How's that?
Yeah, yes. And that other voice you hear is my next guest, who I'm sure you'll know from Holly Jolly Xmasu. It's Scott Leopold. Scott, what's happening?
Hey, Jerry. It's definitely a Monday. So.
Yeah, sorry to hear it. I know you had some troubles that I won't get into on the pod, but yeah. Sometimes Monday's just Monday hard, and I'm sorry it happens, but it's good to have you back. It's good to have both of you guys back. It's been a long time. I'm excited to talk to you, not necessarily excited about this, to talk about this particular special, which we'll get into. But before we do, just like Carol Kane did to Bill Murray and Scrooge, I want you guys to hit me with the toaster. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Just hit me with the first answer you can think of, okay? You don't have to think too hard about it. So here we go. Let's say you go to a record store for a last-minute Christmas gift, for your spouse. Which 80s album are you buying?
Purple Rain.
Oh,
good choice.
Yeah.
For my spouse. I don't know if there was a collection, but probably the latest Chicago album.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be a really good one. I think that was 19 maybe?
I don't know.
One of those.
The 80s they sort of blend together.
Yeah. They really transitioned hard into that pop ballad. All right, well that's good. Okay, if this special, Scrooge's Rock and Roll Christmas, were made today, who would you cast as Scrooge?
Steve Buscemi.
Oh.
I was not expecting that one.
Well, looks wise, I was trying to, I was thinking Jack Elam, and
yeah,
who's comparable. So
the boosh.
I think I would go for one of the late night guys like Stephen Colbert.
Oh, okay, I could see that. Yeah, Conan O'Brien for sure.
Yeah.
He feels like he needs some Christmas spirit. I don't know why. Okay, that's good. And then finally, which 80s artists would you want to see in a magical crystal ball?
I'm going to go with Huey Lewis and the News.
That's solid.
Yeah, that fan club cassette, it just wasn't enough.
It was really good.
I'd say Bruce Springsteen. In the 80s, he was on top, and Santa Claus is coming to town, the very special Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I think they never would have been able to afford him. They wouldn't have been able to afford Huey Lewis either.
I think they could barely afford Jack Elam in this. But we'll get into it. Well, that's just a way for our listeners to get to know y'all a little bit better. So thank you for that. Now, tonight, we're here to talk about Scrooge's Rock and Roll Christmas. Bong, 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 bong. What is your history or experience with this? Like, what do you remember about it? Why don't we start with you, Ken?
I was not aware of it as a TV special or even as a VHS tape, which apparently happened very quickly.
Doesn't surprise me.
I found in a used record store, I found the soundtrack. What I didn't know was the soundtrack that I found was basically a deluxe edition that had been put out by Radio Shack. So that lets you know how amazing this whole thing is. Because the original soundtrack left off not quite half, but a lot of the songs. Somehow Radio Shack made a deal and released it with all the songs but one. And I bet you can guess which one.
The one that nobody ever heard of?
Yes.
But they talk about the most.
That's right. They were really trying to make her happen, whoever this Bridget is.
How about that, Bridget?
Yeah. What do you remember about this one, Scott?
I don't think that I was aware of this when it came out. I've heard Ken talk about it. I've seen Ernie, not Bert, write about it online.
Oh yeah.
and that's about it. So I have you to thank for subjecting me to it.
He did say thank.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. I had no idea that this was a thing. I had also the album, not quite as early as you. It was, I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago that I found a digital copy of it online through some of the back channels. And I've had that, looked it up, watched it like 4 years ago. It was the worst thing ever, but it's still fun. I mean, there are a few good bright spots in it. But it was just something I wasn't aware of. And I heard these songs and I thought, oh, I know all these guys. I didn't realize that this album was from, 1984. I thought for sure it was like late 60s, early 70s, which brings me to my first question. Why did they choose these artists? Like, was it really just a budget thing? I have a feeling it was just budget.
Budget, or they filmed this up in Big Bear in California, which is a wintry ski kind of resort.
Gotcha.
And part of me wonders if these people just happen to be there.
Right. What local acts? They're semi-famous. No, I don't know. It definitely feels like these were the bands that they could afford at the time. And I think they played into it really with the title, Scrooge's Rock and Roll Christmas. At this time, it was more like just rock, like not so much roll, or there was pop, or there was, like, let's say glam metal, new wave. They had all these other titles, and you rarely heard just rock and roll put together. And it's almost like by using those two words together, rock and roll, they were able to expand into, let's say, earlier hits.
Yes.
This did air December 23rd, 1984. And it stars, as you mentioned, Jack Elam. I knew him more from Bonanza. That's kind of the only thing that I knew him from, although he was in quite a few Westerns and things of that nature. He plays Scrooge, who doesn't even attempt to put on any kind of British accent at all.
Well, and I don't know that he actually had a copy of the script.
I don't know that there was a copy of the script.
That's true. It did feel like they wrote this like in a morning. The other person we got was Lee Benton. I didn't really know her at all. Apparently she was big in like the new Mike Hammer series, with Stacy Keach. I didn't really watch that till later on in reruns, but that's the only thing I knew her from. And she was just labeled the girl. Like, her character doesn't even have a name. So that kind of tells you the level of writing that we're talking about here. But I do have to say, as much as corny and hokey and cheap as these songs were, I actually kind of like some of these versions. There's some just good quality music here, not like knock your socks off music, but just songs that are like, oh, that's a fun version. That's nice. Like you put it on in the back of a party and everyone would be all right.
Yeah, the first song, Three Dog Night, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, that was the first song I was ever aware of. And I had no idea Three Dog Night had done any Christmas music, so I went hunting. No internet or anything there, so this was
Right.
boots on the ground hunting. And it took a while till I found out about this rock and roll Christmas TV thing
Right.
and that they were on it. I had no idea where that song came from, but that was a strong. I think that was one of the stronger songs in it.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely one of the more memorable. They have a little bit of life, even though as you're watching them in their video portion of it, they do look like they're a little embarrassed to be there. But other than that, it's a pretty decent version, I gotta say. So the whole thing, of course, Three Dog Night, famous for "Joy to the World," Mama Told Me Not to Come," songs like that. But the whole thing starts off with a Carol of the Bells sung by, I believe it's like all the acts together as sort of, that's like the intro to what we get.
Yeah, yeah. It says ensemble, but it doesn't specify.
Yeah, it doesn't
So,
tell you which ensemble, who the ensemble is. Is it everybody?
yeah,
I assumed it's most of the acts, or at least one or two people from from all of the acts. The album that I had 12 songs on it. Is that the one you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
Every song except one.
I've tried, I hunted for information on this Bridget singer all over the place. I did not find anything on her. So I don't know what happened, who she is. And the only thing that I could find was everybody was asking, who's Bridget? That seems to
Yeah,
be the only info out there.
It's like they were setting her up for a big career that just never got past this show.
Yeah, if they really wanted to set her up for a big career, they needed like Michael Jackson and Prince and Whitney Houston on this.
if they really wanted to set her up for a big career, they would have put her on the soundtrack.
That's true. Or put her on MTV. That's the easiest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. So Scrooge is in his counting house, and this girl comes in looking for a last minute present for someone really groovy. As soon as she said that, I thought, oh, we're in trouble here. But she thinks it's a record store, and she is upbeat and peppy, and she can't believe Scrooge is a little bit dour and sad. It's Christmas time, and I like his line. He says that
You remind me of that no good Bob Cratchit.
I thought, okay, so they're really trying to make him into Scrooge. That's about the Scroogiest he gets, really.
Yeah, it really is.
There's the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, but in this one, there's just the girl of Christmas.
Christmas, wrong place, wrong time.
That's right. That's right. Oh man. But she's determined to cheer him up, right? So this is like the whole plot. That and I mean like the whole plot. That's literally it. She's in there, she's gonna try to cheer him up. And so the rest, like the entire rest of the story is just is just her and Scrooge looking through a magical crystal ball, which if you wish really hard, like close your eyes and wish hard, whatever you wish for, you'll be able to see. And she thinks that rock and roll music is going to cheer him up.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are going to love it.
And so the special is really just populated by these songs. These acts are in wintry settings, and then you kind of go from there. So now that we know the plot, because there's not really a whole lot of plot to dig into, I think let's just kind of get into some of these acts. So you're right. He looks in, she says Three Dog Night, and he does mention, he doesn't understand what she's talking about, rock and roll and Three Dog Night, because presumably when she walked in, somehow she went through like a time portal to like the 18th, the 19th century or whatever it is. And
It must have been a time slip, a door to the past.
he doesn't know what records are. I mean, she just thinks she just walked through a door. It's a strange like opening. But Marty and Doc needed a DeLorean and she just walked through a door. But
I don't think they thought it out too well.
no, they they definitely didn't.
And neither of them seemed surprised or concerned or anything that this was some woman from the future. There was
Right.
none of that. Scrooge just accepted it, I guess. And
Right.
she just accepted that she was back in the 1800s.
Exactly. Just like another day, another dollar.
Yeah, as long as I'm here, let me open this present and show you this crystal ball and a bunch of people from my time that you never heard of.
Yep. It's the strangest thing. But you're right. We start off Three Dog Night. They're singing Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. It's just a nice snowy, lush setting. The tree's actually decorated in the background. It's got tinsel garland of different colors. I thought the tree and the setting, like the scenery, actually looked pretty nice there.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know a whole lot about what Three Dog Night were doing in 1984. But there were more members than just three, but there were just three for this special.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if the others were like, nah, I'm not doing that.
I mean, because presumably they had to record these, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't know where or when they just decided to record them. And I think that's a lot of the issue with it. There's not like a lot of production notes on the making of this entire special here, at least as far as I can tell. Not from the little album, digital album that I have. I couldn't find really much on the back in the way of like information. And then when you look it up on IMDb there's not even like a Wikipedia page on it. It's kind of sparse. You can find bits and pieces here and there. You mentioned where they filmed it. But on the actual, like, when did they record these songs? Were they done earlier and they're just using them now? Did they record them for the special? It's kind of hard to say. So on a lot of these, I'm just assuming that they recorded them for this special, but I honestly have no idea.
Yeah.
Scrooge, yeah, exactly. So Scrooge is mystified. He didn't see dogs, and it wasn't nighttime, which tells you all you need to know about the special. But he says it's not his kind of Christmas. And that kind of gets her thinking, oh, so you do have a kind of Christmas. And then we see Merrilee Rush singing White Christmas in a log cabin by a fireside.
Merrilee Rush has something to say on that very subject.
You gonna make that thing show some more pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. I didn't think there were a lot of really memorable songs from the album or special rather. So
yeah, I agree. Merrilee Rush, of course, most famous for what, Angel of the Morning, which I think was released in 1968, if I recall. And
I had to Google her when I was watching it.
I recognized the name but didn't know what she sang. So same thing. I was like, which one was it again? And sure enough, yeah, Angel of the Morning, popular 1968. So that tells you the era from where they're deriving all these artists. In the time of Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson versus Prince, this is, you get Merrilee Rush.
And Bridget.
Yeah, and Bridget. That's right. Don't forget Bridget.
Like Three Dog Night and like really half the artists that were on this, as far as I can tell, Merrilee Rush never put out any Christmas music up until she was in this special.
Right.
And this was it.
And like you said, Scott, it wasn't a bad song. It's a nice, pretty version, but that's kind of about it. Oh, it's a pretty version. It didn't like hit you in the, it doesn't kick you in the face with Christmas spirit or anything. It's okay. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And even Scrooge just says, "Oh, I think her song is pretty," and that's about it. But the scenery was very Christmassy. She was in a sweater. I did get Christmas vibes just from watching the video, at least. After that, we get Paul Revere and the Raiders singing Jingle Bells.
And again, not bad, but it doesn't stick with you like, they put out a pretty wild Christmas album in their prime. And like it or hate it, you listen to it once and you're going to remember something from it.
Yeah.
This was, again, not bad, but, you can take just about any other version of Jingle Bells.
Yeah, I agree.
For the presumed audience, which I think would be kind of an MTV sort of audience for something like this, most are probably not familiar at the time, probably not familiar with Paul Revere and the Raiders, more so today, but they used to perform in Revolutionary era
yes, they did.
outfits, and so that's how they were dressed in for this. So that adds something to this.
I know what you mean, because like Adam Ant was wearing like marching band jackets, right? With his, but he punked it up. He had the face paint. There was a lot of other things that he would wear with some of these outfits. This was like if you were just to take like a Revolutionary War blue coat, or red coat, but make it blue. That's kind of what this is. And they have the caps with the feathers and all sorts of just the frilly shirts. There's a lot going on. And it seems like they could have made it more contemporary if they had just pushed it over the edge a little bit. Of course, they're famous for a few other songs. Just Like Me in 66, was one of their big hits. Indian Reservation in 71. So it had been quite a long time since they were, I don't want to say relevant, but since they were popular.
I was going to say, I think relevant's appropriate.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think it's true for all of the artists on this, that they weren't really relevant in 1984.
Right.
Except that Bridget.
That's going to be all night. It is funny, though. There is a funny bit here where the girl tries to get Scrooge to see this next thing from Paul Revere and the Raiders, and he's like,
Paul Revere. Now, I heard that name. Is he from the colonies?
like, okay, all right. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of a straightforward version of Jingle Bells. I think it doesn't even quite have the edge of some of the songs that they put out in like 66. Some of those have, I don't know if it's just more youthful energy or more rebellious spirit or what, but even though it's the same style of music, almost seems a little harder edged than this version of Jingle Bells here.
Well, and that's one thing is, except for one song that, we'll get to, I didn't think any of the bands really put their stamp on anything they did in the special. So, it could have been Paul Revere and the Raiders singing that. It could have been Gary Puckett. Just about anyone could have done that arrangement. So
they probably couldn't have afforded Gary Puckett.
Yeah.
Yeah, the set, Scrooge's Counting House set is it's not great. I'm going to say that. It's very minimal, and I get it. Scrooge's aesthetic was cheap and minimal, but also it looked cheap. It like they didn't even really try to make it look like an authentic counting house. So Scrooge thinks Paul Revere and all those guys look funny. But he does love the soft music, and this is where the girl puts on Bridget, and she sings "Some Children See Him," which is not a popular song. So it was an odd inclusion for this. And like you said, Ken, not even released on the album.
Yeah.
Bridget.
Some children singing lily white, the baby Jesus born this night. Some children singing.
And if this is Scrooge's Rock and Roll Christmas, this was not a rock and roll Christmas song.
No, not at all. It was very mellow.
Yeah. It was like a step away from Silent Night, but just not popular.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you were to go up to someone and say, "Hey, have you heard the Christmas carol Some Children See Him?" Most people would just look at you with a blank stare, just a puzzled look on their eyes. Yeah, it's not a song that you typically think of when you think, and whereas most of these are, we have Sleigh Ride, we have Jingle Bells, we have these that you think Christmas, but Some Children See Him, just you don't really. I do like that Scrooge thinks she's pretty. I was like, well, all right, Scrooge. But he and the girl argue over rock and roll music a bit. He calls it like jumping around music. They just it's upbeat, and he just thinks it's too much. And so she says, well, Paul Revere and the Raiders can do soft. And so she puts on in the snow globe the Christmas song, and they sing the Christmas song.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Again, a nice, easygoing version of the song, but nothing that stood out to me.
Right. And like Scott said before, it could have been anybody, except for the uniforms they were wearing. But,
right.
But if you close your eyes and you listen to it, it could have been anybody.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, that's the vibe we get from most of these acts and most of these songs. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good song, good version. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like, wow. So Scrooge and the girl talk about what Christmas is all about.
Rejoice, for God's Son Jesus is born in Bethlehem. Let this day be called Christmas, and let it be celebrated each year by gathering with family.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
By doing goodwill in his name.
Hallelujah.
And by putting a big pine tree in your house.
And then she puts on Mary MacGregor and Mike Love, which I love, Mike Love from the Beach Boys. This is during that era where he was kind of vilified. I mean, he still is to a good extent, but this was really the height of some of that, and he's kind of off on his own. And they sing "Do You Hear What I Hear?" because this is what Christmas is about. And I like, she's got on like a fur coat, like there's big fur trim on the collar, but she's holding a lamb the whole time she's singing. And Mike Love's just next to her, and he sings, of course, in that really nasally kind of tenor voice, and they're just on a lovely bridge in this wintry scene.
And I'm fine with Mike Love from the Beach Boys being in a rock and roll Christmas thing. But Mary MacGregor, her big hit was Torn Between Two Lovers, like 6-7 years before this. Not a rock song.
No.
Not known as a rock singer.
I think it was actually from 76.
Yeah.
So that was like that was 8 years before. And then like, what did she really do much after that?
I have a version of Toyland that she did.
Oh, that's pretty.
But it would have been, they could have swapped her out for Deborah Harry. That would have been interesting.
Oh, man. Yeah. Blondie in this? Come on. That would have been a step up already. Again, I think like, and I'll ask this later on, but if we could see these versions done by other artists, I mean, I think it would have, contemporary to the time, I think it really would have added something to the grungy, rundown Scrooge. But again, I do have a very strong feeling it just came down to budget, honestly.
Yeah.
So Scrooge thinks it looks like fun to make the snow globe work. And he tries it. It doesn't work. She says, well, you have to wish, when you shake it, and focus on memory, focus on something really important. And it doesn't work. So she mentions something about the British invasion, like Paul Revere, and that's when he's like, "Oh, that's where I know that name from." But she puts on Mike Love and Dean Torrance from Jan and Dean, singing Jingle Bell Rock.
Never mind. Let's watch Mike and Dean.
They have a one-horse open sleigh. It's again a snowy landscape. It's like turned over, and they have to get help to get it. But like Jan and Dean, they sang like Surf City. That was way earlier in the 60s.
Yeah.
Well, and of all the songs in the special where you think, they're a bit past their prime, I think this is the one that kind of nails that vibe.
Yeah. I understand.
There's a few bars where it's not bad, but
yeah. I don't know how many takes they got of these. Maybe that's
one.
The thing. Maybe they spent all their money like in the studio, recording these. That all they had after that was just, okay, well, here's a room. Cool, let's shoot this.
Yeah. Got to have all the equipment back by 5. Let's go.
That's right. So Scrooge mentions there's a nice little joke here. He mentions that he used to have a sled named Rosebud. Everybody loves a good Citizen Kane joke. And then she puts on the Association in a 10-man sleigh singing Sleigh Ride. My first thought was, wow, that is a lot of plaid.
Well, see, and Cherish was my parents' song at their wedding. So I was like, I really want the Association to sound fantastic here.
Yeah.
They weren't bad, but
no, I mean they harmonized well. It's just like we said with a lot of these others. There's just not a lot of pop or zing to them. It was like, oh, it's a good like cover band or like wedding band version of it,
Yeah, well, and I think they would have been suited better for one of the slower songs. So having them on Sleigh Ride, I don't know that they thought that out.
Well, they also sang what was it, Along Comes Mary. That one's a pretty good up-tempo song. But
Windy.
Yeah.
See, I'm always thinking of Cherish, so
well, that's but you're right. That's like one of those nice ballady type slow songs.
And the thing about the Association, as opposed to really everybody else in this, is that most people have no idea who is in the Association, who the singers, any names of any of the singers. And I looked it up, and during the course of their career, and they may still be doing stuff today, there have been at least 40 members.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know if this is the Association from Cherish and Windy and all the hits, or if it's, the Association Generation 2, or
well, they headlined at what was it, like the Monterey Jazz Festival in '67. So this is probably, if it's another like version, it's probably version like 10, 8 maybe. I don't know.
And I thought it was interesting. While they did 2 songs. The second one was Home for the Holidays.
Home for the Holidays. Yeah, that's next.
Home for the holidays.
Oh, there's no place like home for the holiday.
And while they're doing that, one of the women in the group who's sitting, they're like at a
it's a nice little cabin. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're sitting outside on the patio and benches and stuff. And there's one of the women who's in the front is eating a donut instead of singing.
If you're hungry, you're hungry,
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like those eat a Snickers.
Yeah.
He was just too angry. No, but you're right. It's a lovely cabin. There's like a wooden cutout of Santa in front of the railing. There's garland all over the place. I mean, it's, red, green, and gold. It's nice. It looks for the 80s like a pretty decent, a pretty Christmassy kind of place.
And I thought their version of Home for the Holidays, despite whoever was eating a donut in the front, I thought it was really nice. It was kind of a throwback to like the New Christie Minstrels in the 60s. It was that sort of lots of harmony and,
yeah,
I thought it was very nice. Was it a rock and roll Christmas song? I don't know.
I couldn't say.
But I thought it was very nice, very Christmassy.
I agree. Yes, it and you're right. It was harmonized very well. They doubled a lot of their parts, so you get the nice blend of voices in there. Scrooge mentions that he hadn't thought of going home in a long time. The girl says, "Well, you know what? I know who can get you out of the doldrums." And so she gets a mental picture and he shakes it, and Bobby Goldsboro appears to sing the next song. And it's Winter Wonderland in a nice snowy forest with some snowman that he just stops to serenade.
Yeah, and even though he's like 13 years past his prime, I thought he was the one in the one person in the special who really put his stamp on the song. I mean, it sounded like a Bobby Goldsboro song.
He's one of the ones that I didn't know a lot about. I know he had a hit in '68 called Honey, and he had his own TV show apparently from '73 to '76, but I didn't really know a lot about Bobby Goldsboro personally. But again, nice version. Scrooge starts to think that he likes rock and roll, and all of a sudden Mike Love takes the time warp and enters the record store, but / counting house. And Scrooge recognizes him and wants his autograph, which I'm sure Mike Love really just loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the highlight of the whole thing. But he's carrying like this little tabletop, like mini tree, like a 3-foot tree or so. And Mike tells him he can keep the tree. And then he sings to him, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas."
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight.
I think this was also one of the weaker songs on the whole thing, personally. It wasn't my favorite.
And it was just, and this says a lot, it was just so odd. So odd that the guy who was singing in that crystal ball just walked through the door. Nobody bats an eye. It's like, of course he did.
Right.
And it was fine for Mike Love as well. Maybe he does that all the time. Hard to say. But it was just so odd in an hour-long special that was really odd.
Yeah. They need to make like a special where Mike Love just walks through random doors in time and sings songs to him.
He might be up for that.
So he leaves. Scrooge wishes him a Merry Christmas, and then he tries it one more time. He shakes it, or she shakes it, excuse me. He asks her to shake it, and all the acts that have sung for us wish us a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Feliz Navidad and Happy New Year!
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas!
I hope you all have a really Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody! Merry Christmas, everybody! And Happy New Year!
And they sing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." A frog croaks during Bobby Goldsboro's song, though. I don't know what that was about, but I think, because doesn't he mention something about a frog that turns into a prince at some point? That he's read that story. I don't know. It was just strange.
Hey, we'll fix it in post. Keep going.
Oh, we ran out of money. Oh, well. And then Scrooge ends with, "God bless us, everyone." So, okay, here's the question. What 80s acts would you have wanted in this thing to see? And like, what songs would you have wanted them to sing?
The Police.
Oh, wow. That would be a good one.
Yeah, really anything they did, I'm sure they would have put their stamp on.
Right.
So it would have been, even if they did Jingle Bell Rock, it would have been, it would have been a cool semi-reggae, semi-rock police song.
I would like to hear that.
Yeah.
Or even if it was Sting doing his, something like the Angel Gabriel,
Yeah.
That's a lovely version that I think one of these songs probably you could have transformed into something like that. But yeah, I mean, a song, because this was around the time of what Every Breath You Take, Wrapped Around Your Finger, right? King of Pain. So, I mean, any of these songs in that style would really have hit. Yeah.
Well, and if you're going to do something kind of that represents the period, throw Phil Collins in there.
Yeah.
Phil Collins could have taken Mike Love's spot.
He would have nailed it, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, and just think if he'd bring, the vibe of In the Air Tonight to Little Drummer Boy.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, ba. Did that Phil? That would have been cool. Yeah, I mean, I think Cyndi Lauper would have been a good choice for something. That's talk about rock and roll. So you really personified the 80s with the wild hair and all the beads and everything. I think that
Duran
Duran would have, yeah.
The Cars.
Oh, the Cars would have been amazing, especially if it was not Rick Ocasek, but Orr. What's his name?
Benjamin Orr.
Benjamin Orr. Mm-hmm. That would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, I mean, there's like all these great acts that they could have even gotten like maybe lesser known, like Kaja Gugu probably could have done it. For
they probably could have afforded Kaja Gugu.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and they would have put their own spin on it and probably would have been pretty good. April Wine, they could have done an April Wine version or something.
Billy Joel.
And that's some good ones. Okay, if you could sing or not sing, but maybe perform with one of these acts, which one would you perform with?
Wait, one of the acts that was in the special?
Yeah.
It got to be Bridget.
Yep.
Well, you took mine, so I'll say Paul Revere and the Raiders if they've got an extra suit.
Yeah, I think I probably would have done Three Dog Night. I think I would have joined them. They seem to have at least the most energy out of everyone in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say normally I do happiest, but that's kind of I don't know if we really have a best or favorite moment of this thing. So we're going to skip to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I call Gag Me with the Spoon, where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of the special here. As a guest, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set it up for us. And why don't we start with you, Scott?
Oh gosh, what would be my least favorite part of it? Can I just ramble on incoherently like Jack Elam for a minute?
Yeah, this is one where I don't think you have to quote it exactly. You can just distill it to its essence and it would be fine.
God bless us, everyone.
There you go. What do you think, Ken?
I would say bah humbug, but I don't know that he ever said that. And
he does. He does say it once. Yeah.
Does he say it once? Okay.
Yes, he does.
I missed it amongst the merriment of the whole thing.
Well, I did go with Scrooge, and it was and I picked this line not because it's a bad line. I actually think it's one of the better lines of the whole thing, but it just made me laugh so hard because of how ridiculous it was. But when the girl's like coming in and he goes, "Close the door, in or out, in or out." Like he's trying to save the heat. Oh man. But G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you guys think the other half is?
Budget.
Yep. Yep.
I can't top that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought if no one's half the battle, the other half is just getting contemporary acts for your Christmas musical show. like that seems to be like, the least. Guys, this has been fun. I'm sorry I made you watch this. I had fun talking about it with you. But, tell me about your shows, anything you got coming up or anything you want to plug. Why don't we start with you, Ken?
Well, first, for anybody who has never heard of this special before, it is actually streaming on, is it Tubi or Tubi? Tubi.
Tubi, yeah.
Tubi. Okay. It is actually streaming on there, and it honestly looks like somebody put in the VHS tapes and they need to adjust the tracking a little. But if you've listened to this and you're thinking it can't be this bad, go check it out.
It's also on YouTube, and I imagine it's probably the same quality.
Yeah, it could have been lifted from the same source.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't think this has ever come out on DVD or Blu-ray.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
No.
It's something. But why don't you tell me where they can find you and all that?
Soundsofchristmas.com, the podcast, and the online Christmas music station, both at the same place. You can click on podcasts there. You can click on the tree on the front if you would like to listen to some Christmas music. I am starting for Christmas in July, our annual The Sounds of Christmas A to Z, where I play just about everything in our library in alphabetical order, by song title. And then once I finish that, I do it again by artist. So it gives you a chance to hear a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally hear. Not a lot of the songs that we mentioned tonight, but a lot of Christmas music that you might not have even known was out there. And not for the reasons that you didn't know that this show was out there. So,
right.
But that's going, I don't remember how long it took. It seemed like the whole thing was about 3 weeks last year in July. And I've added a lot of songs over the past year. So it's probably going to be a little bit longer. If there's only one or two Christmas songs that you really love and you want to hear, this isn't the thing for you. Because Mariah Carey's song will come up and then you won't hear it again for a long time. But
let me thank you. Because, if you're listening to terrestrial radio, I don't know how many people still do, but if you are, you're going to hear that once an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're worried about Whamageddon, as long as you know your ABCs, you'll know when Last Christmas is coming.
That's right. Just skip L just in case.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
So I'm into the 5th month of my 1 month hiatus.
I understand.
I am trying to regroup and just get some new stuff out there, hopefully by the end of the summer.
Right on.
But old episodes you can find just about anywhere you find podcasts.
Very cool. Yeah, I understand. I feel that in my bones. The editing this year's Raddies took so long that I didn't record or do anything for about a month and a half. And I'm like way behind now and scrambling to make sure I get it all done before then. But yeah, sometimes it's too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely go check out both those shows. Fantastic. You won't go wrong with either one. You'll hear some really interesting Christmas music on both of them. So make sure you check them out. And on that note, let me just say, guys, thanks again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
And I'll end it with, don't you feel Christmassy now? Aren't you getting the Yuletide spirit? Don't you feel good all over? Well, then you can check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like Scrooge, learning to love rock and roll, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. God bless us, everyone. Later, dudes.